Welcome to MindWise Podcast, presenting perspective and information about holistic mental health, healthcare, wellness, and neuroscience, philosophy, and spirituality. I am your host, Ron Parks, MPH, MD, writer, teacher, and consultant. Welcome, everyone. We have a very exciting guest today, Hussey, from the other side of the country, the Canadian side of the country, who is a content marketer, writer, editor. He's the author of Create Your Own Blog Using WordPress and WordPress Absolute and Beginner's Guide. But I'll just ask Tris to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his journey to where he is now and maybe what he has to offer. And maybe I asked him to answer some questions about doing video podcasts, which confounds me no end, as I'm sort of a beginner and so on. Welcome, Tris.
Well, thank you, Ron. It's been great. I mean, we stumbled upon this connection together through the Descript community. I'm a longtime podcaster and blogger. I started blogging in 2004 and started podcasting in 2005. And I have started and stopped more shows than I can count. And along the way, I think the biggest thing about where I am now, I work for a company called Modaxo. I'm the producer and editor of a show called Transit Unplugged. It's all about the public transit industry. Modaxo makes software for public transit agencies. A lot of my career and where I'm at is actually about serendipity and finding a passion that you have, taking some risks and going for it. So the way this all started, I mean, way back in the late 90s, was I left a career in research science. I was running a lab at Duke University. And I changed jobs to start doing tech support. I actually worked at one of the agencies that was part of the National Institute of Health. And I was doing tech support, running around helping people with their computers. And one of my friends was sitting at his station, and he was typing in this weird stuff. And it was HTML, and he was making a web page. It's like, dude, can you show me how to do that? And he said, sure. So before long, I was creating web pages, and that led me to creating websites for the pharmaceutical industry, which then brought me to Canada. And then when I left the pharmaceutical industry, I was at a different job and couldn't, I want to talk about things that I'm really passionate about and still am, like collaboration software and knowledge management and how people work better together with technology. And no one at work was really interested. I said, I've heard about this blogging thing. I think it could be important. I'm going to try this. So literally on a whim, I started blogging. And by the end of that year in 2004, I was being paid to blog. And it's all just snowballed from there, from working in various startups in the social media and podcasting world, in the blogging world. I've had the opportunity through friends to have the chance to write a book, and which again happened in serendipity. A friend had been asked to write a book, the Create Your Own Blog, and he couldn't do it. He was too busy. And he told his editor, it's like, you know what? Tris really is good. He's a good writer. You should have him write this book. And he did. And then I was able to have the chance to write a few more. And each of those brought in things like the opportunity to teach at the University of British Columbia and teach at the British Columbia Institute of Technology, to where I am now, where I get to podcast and write about public transit for Modaxo, and just always try to learn new things. I guess maybe if there was one thing that's the string that connects everything, is when I got my first computer leaving high school, 1987. My dad said to me, probably the best advice I've ever been given, said, Tris, I'm not going to be there to read the manual for you for how to use this computer, because that's what he did at our home computer. You're going to have to read the manual yourself. You're going to have to teach yourself how to do this. I said, okay, Dad. 30 plus some odd years later, here I am, because I read the manuals because I dug deep into what was interesting for me and just kept pushing and learning and doing all those things to the point where I could help you with one of your shows and pull it together.
Yes, I should say that I ran into a lot of major glitches with my going into video podcasting. I have to admit, the first one I did with a colleague and friend, it actually was great, the content, and damned if I didn't forget to push the record button.
So done that.
I think this person is reluctant to do another with me. It's like Charlie Brown and where Lucy always pulls football out when they get right to it. Anyway, I just want to ask Tris. I mean, I'm probably typical or atypical, I should say, a lot of people that are doing many multiple things, careers, but get interested in something like video podcasting or just podcasting. And when they get into it, it seems like a big jungle of technology and things. So I wanted to maybe comment on that. I've found so much in my life, and I've written articles about this, the value of dialoguing, or I guess it's also would be considered getting consultation, or two brains are better than one. But maybe we could focus in a little bit just on podcasting, video podcasting. And I've been trying to master as a beginner, which has been difficult, the script and their Squadcast connection. Now they're one program.
Yeah, this is something that I've always been a geek. I've always been the guy in the dorm when your Mac wasn't working and you couldn't get Excel or Word to work. I was the guy they always tracked down. Then I worked in the campus computer lab and got paid to do it. One of the things I love about technology today is it's really become more democratized. It's a lot easier than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly. But by leaps and bounds, the ability to record a video like we're doing now on opposite sides of the continent in pretty high fidelity and have the audio, and that when you're done, you're going to be able to drag these files over to Descript, which is the audio editor we both use. And it's going to work some magic stuff and make it sound great and let you edit it like you're editing a Word document. It's amazing to me as a technologist how they actually get this to work. But one of the things in the years that I've been teaching podcasting and building websites with WordPress and things like that, is that there's a little known secret. Geeks are really, really bad at A, naming things, and B, explaining things to people who aren't really technical. And I think it comes from, you as a psychiatrist would know this, is the curse of expertise, because you have it all in your head, right? You not only do you understand like the specific problem someone's having, you understand intuitively all the connections that feed into that. And so from my side as a technologist, when you were having issues with the video that I helped you with, or we were talking earlier and we're going through working out some kinks and getting the best recording possible. There's stuff that I just, you know what? I bet this is what the problem is. And it's I think it's a curse of technologists. So we don't explain things very well. We name things very poorly all the time. And one of the things I actually really enjoy doing is bridging that gap between technology and everyone else who wants to use it, because it is so easy now to just stop, hit record, and do things that I think more people should be able to do it. And I think the tools are getting easier to do it, but you have to make that first step.
Just to interject here about Tris, in doing this recording as somewhat of a novice, I pushed every possible wrong button or didn't do this right or that right. He actually saved this video podcast Though, I mean, it's of the quality it is, but I was amazed. I was ready to start over from scratch, but good thing I didn't know, because I would repeat the same errors. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you, Tris.
Well, you're welcome. And this is part of what I love about what I do sort of in my greater sphere of world about technology is helping bridge those gaps. The other thing that I really stress to people is there's a lot of things you just don't, sometimes you just have to hit record and start. Sometimes you just have to start writing and go and not worry about the things, the rest of it until you get to that point. The problem then comes in, like your experience, where you had a cascading number of issues that were non-trivial to solve. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. I'm just saying, like, anybody would have been like, oh wow, okay, this is gonna take some work to fix. But it's the practice, right? I've seen it before. I've done it before. I've made the same mistakes. It's like, I know what happened. Let me fix it. And we did. So yeah, but it was wonderful because I wanted to save the content. What I listened to, I thought was really fascinating, and I think it deserves being saved. So I was happy to do it.
It's interesting that Tris is defining himself a little bit as a geek. And I've written some articles on that because I'm discovering the geek in me. And I tried in one of the articles to call it people on the creative spectrum and different. I'm trying to find the right positive or whatever name and descriptor. But as we all find out about ourselves, we find that a lot of these hidden or traits that we masked most of our life are actually our greatest talent and assets. And so anyway, but it's been wonderful just opportunity to meet Chris and work with him. Certainly I've uncovered some interesting things about video podcasting, and maybe I'll continue. and this, at least now I know to push the record button. So
always important to push record. And also equally important whenever you're using these new remote recording tools, Descript, with Squadcast, any of them. When you hit stop, don't let the person close the window until you say everything has uploaded and it's okay. Believe me, I have made that mistake on a number of occasions where I hit stop and the person goes, and I say, okay, we're done. I hit stop and the person goes, bye, and closes the window, and I'm left there going, no. And, sometimes you get lucky and you don't lose too much.
I can see people doing that unconsciously when they're thinking, oh my God, I revealed something I shouldn't have. Actually, I guess you need to well-inform people that we can edit and record anything out and and to leave their computer on, so download the files.
That's right. Yeah, it's the beauty of editing. I mean, we had a little false start when we started, which is normal, right? That happens. And this is why we edit. This is why we do these things. And I think one of the things you talked about when we were talking about earlier with dialogue is building a sense of rapport and trust. And you can only get that when you're doing video, when we can see each other and we can read each other's faces. And that rapport and trust that you want to bring the story I'm telling you to life, and that comes from editing. And you're not going to do something that's going to be like a gotcha and embarrass me, because that's an important part of this. I'm telling my story. It's important to me.
I actually explored that topic and about a person that was a creator. And I just raised the issue that, in a sense, in all of our developments, we're editors, always trying to figure out the reality and truth about things, come up with a better path forward. So anyway, Chris, I mean, it's been wonderful talking with you, and hopefully we'll be able to collaborate some more in the future.
That would be great. I have so many questions for you that I didn't even get into talking about, like what your work and your career.
I don't think we'd have time and might have
No,
maybe a 6-hour interview or something.
Maybe because it's I find I am a person who always loves continually to learn, and that is so I'm always fascinated by the world around me, and it was fantastic getting to know you.
Well, Tris, I'm always open, especially to you, if you want to interview me. If I don't know the answers to anything, I can always make them up. I mean, now I would do that. I have the trait of honesty and integrity and all those things. Any final last things you want to say?
The last thing I want to say is don't be afraid of technology. There's great communities of people who help. Just if you have a story, find a way to tell it, and everything else will fall together.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I appreciate your interest. Please share with others. Subscribe to my Substack newsletter and podcast at www.inmindwise.com. All content is created and published for educational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice or to be relied on for medical decisions. Always seek your health care provider's guidance regarding medical or mental health conditions. Thank you.